A lot of people struggle with this, especially with barking. So again, barking is classified as a behavioral problem because it's a normal, natural behavioral problem of a dog. If you told me she mooed or quacked, then I'd be concerned. Do you know what I mean? So one is like, usually we err on the side of caution and we're like, okay, maybe the dog's a bit stressed, separation anxiety, it's self-soothing, but self-soothing doesn't last that long. Do you know what I mean? So often if we've passed that point where we're like, okay, well, we've established this, she enjoys barking because it does give dogs a bit of a dopamine hit anyway, but all she knows is if I bark hard enough, long enough, whatever, I'll get some sort of attention. So there's actually like a personality type in the real world, like someone who constantly interjects them into your life and they're constantly fighting with you because they're just so committed to they just want that interaction. So for some dogs that could be something as simple as a look, and it's encouragement to keep going. You see what I'm saying? So when we have a dog like that,
I think that's where and she knows that of me. I reckon, because even with, like, I walked out this morning and Kylie was still in her office. And Kylie's sort of quite good at putting her, and she's the same with the kids. She can sort of be, and she stopped barking probably about 4 minutes after I walked out the door.
But the problem is you're in a school environment. You see, if you can't get her to stop barking, they will at some point go like, she's now being a problem. And for some people like myself, some of my clients as well, sometimes barking can become such a stressor that it actually can trigger you. And because if you're sensory overload like a child sometimes, and you've got this dog barking all the time, it causes more sound stress, and then it just adds more. So essentially what we've been working on is the explicit behavior link chain, which means we had you or people in the middle, right? And sometimes what happens with these dogs is, so number one, they'll go, again, it's that risk versus reward thing, where they go, well, that taps, because of her good genetics, she'll tolerate, right, to still get the attention, because you still have to go over to her and acknowledge her, and
and that's what I feel like she's doing.
The other one is give them like a timeout. So it's where the dog starts to learn that you caused yourself to be put away where you cannot receive any stimulation. That'll only work if you can do it consistent enough. So that can be sometimes very contextual. So sometimes being able to do it with the dog in your house, but you can't do it with the dog in the parking lot, because where are you going to put them? What, in the boot? You can't do that. Someone's going to tell you that you're being cruel and something. So you have to think of that. And what a lot of people keep forgetting is there's only two ways to make a behavior stop. Either you take something away they want, which is the timeout if she really wants your attention, because that's what she wants. She's like, I want attention, I want to be acknowledged because I'm demanding, I can do it. And the more committed she is to that goal, the more persistent she'll be. The difference is she's barking to get what she wants. You can't give it to her right now. You don't want to, you don't have to, you don't have time. It doesn't matter why she's not getting it. It's two completely opposite things. So if you go to soothe her and you're like, I'm just going to make it quiet, which a lot of people do. They're like, oh, my puppy was here for the first night, started whinging, so I stepped out to go and get it. And it's like, but you just taught your puppy they can do that. So you can do that, but because it works in the short run, but it doesn't in the long run. So you can, and any time when you as the person is involved, when they're barking and you have to give them that consequence, either to take away something they like or give them something
they're relating the barking to you.
Yeah, they could. But the problem is that means that responsibility of stopping the barking is always on you. See where I'm coming from? And that's why they created the bark collars. Because with the bark collars, what it does, and it's just to explain, the collar goes around the dog's neck, right? The dog's not dumb. Okay, a lot of people will say, all right, let the dog wear that for a week and do nothing. And I'm like, it's not stupid. It's still going to know it comes from the collar. It just needs to realise.
If you take the collar off, it's going to go back to the patterns.
Yes. So you have to let the dog understand whatever collar this is. So some people it's a tone, some people it's vibrate, some people it's like citronella. You know, sometimes it's the like the contract the muscles like a tensor machine.
Yeah.
You know, as long as you understand whatever that is has to be aversive to the dog. The dog must go like, I don't like this.
That.
And what they don't realize is the bark collars are actually set to allow the dog to bark for a certain amount, because we still want our dogs to bark, right?
Yeah.
But if it doesn't work on this level, right? So that level, most bark collars can amp it, depending on what you're buying. Because
So is that the length of the bark or the?
No, I mean like the levels. So for
for the collar. Yeah.
So for example, when I train people with the remote collar, it's just, you don't just put it on the dog. The difference is a bark collar, you're not involved. You just put it on the dog. Whether you're there or not, the collar will do the work. Yeah. But it only works for barking. There's nothing else, right?
Yeah. So then when you want the dog to bark, if you want the dog to bark, it's going to learn to stop barking.
Yeah, so it still barks like, hey, there's someone here and all that. What the collar does is excessive barking. And this is what a lot of people don't realize, because they're like, oh, I don't want my dog to stop barking at all. And it's like, that's not what it does. The technology is excessive barking, depending on what collar you get. Okay, I'm not a big bark collar person.
Yeah.
Tone only works with dogs that are scared of sound. Okay, I doubt that's her. Okay. Vibrate usually only has one level. Okay, so this is like a phone. Some dogs, she'll overcome that easy because she recovers quick.
Yeah.
The two you'll have is the citronella and the tensor. Okay, the problem I have with citronella is once it sprays onto the dog, it's on them. So it's one spray for maybe being a barky dog, and it stays on them. Which to me, because the nose is the most sensitive part of the dog, I don't know if that's valid.
Yeah.
You know, can you wash it off or something? I don't know. I don't smell it. I don't have such a strong sense as a dog. So I don't know. I can't. It's just my head's like, I don't know if I do that, because what if they desensitize after a while with the smell? So I don't know. Yeah. I'm not very good at that. And some other dog trainer, hopefully somewhere, can answer that question. Yeah. For me, it's the tensor machine.
Yeah.
The tensor machine will, depending on, again, the model, will have levels of contracting and relaxing the muscle, which is like, if it goes hard enough, it's a cramp. So you can have different levels of cramping. It's on the neck. It's weird. It's voodoo. They don't get it. They understand it comes from the collar. They then have to realize it's the collar because it's still this. But why? Oh, it's because I'm barking. Because I'm barking for 5 minutes or whatever it is. I don't know, depending on the setting of the actual collar. When I look at a remote collar, so for example, the one I use, I use the Easy 900. The thing though is you're in charge of the remote. Okay, why? And there's a reason I'm mentioning this. The Easy 900 has 100 levels, where sometimes you get a different collar. I don't know, let's call it collar X. Will have 20 levels. The problem you'll have is going from level 1 to level 2 on this one won't be as significant. So I could work with really sensitive dogs. However, going from 1 to level 2 could be the difference between 1 to 10 on that collar. So you've got to be careful, because whenever we're dealing with behavior, so repetition gives success. Depends on how many repetitions, I don't know, but consistency is what speeds that up. So if you think rewarding someone once or maybe twice and they get it, or punishing them once or twice and they're going to get it, it's not guaranteed. So a lot of people start stressing with it, like, well, I gave the dog a collar, it got zapped once, because that's what they use, the word zap, right? And they never barked again until I took it off, and then they barked, and they go, oh, so what then happens is the dog says, whoa, okay, so it's not the barking, it is the collar. So there is a system of using the collar for a period of time where the dog starts to learn it's not the collar, it's the barking. So still comes from the collar. They're not idiotic. They're really not that dumb.
So then what happens if you take the collar off?
You don't. There's a test you do. Again, you go through your 10, 15-day test. It's that simple. Because we're looking for habituation.
But then eventually you take the collar. They don't wear the collar all the time.
All depends on the dog.
Yeah.
So if you put a bark collar on a dog, right, for 3 days, and they've stopped barking, you take it off, it's too soon.
Yeah.
Way too soon.
Yeah.
Way too soon.
But I mean, even if you're using it for 6 months for training or whatever, or a year for training, then you can take it off after that point.
You've seen Ziva.
Yeah.
She's not wearing her collar most of the time.
Yeah.
So, did I use it forever? No, I didn't. So there are some dogs that will need it forever, like Zeus. Zeus is a dog that will always need a collar because anything else doesn't work for him. He's just like, I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah.
And so there are dogs that will need it for the rest of their life. It's like a seatbelt. A lot of dog trainers will talk about a seatbelt. They'll say, well, do you have to wear your seatbelt all the time? No, because in hindsight, every time you look back, you go, I didn't need my seatbelt there. Yeah. It's when you do that, it's the problem. It's like insurance, right? Everyone's like, do I really need to buy insurance? Yeah. So if a dog's already showing that there are certain strategies that you're trying to implement because of your lifestyle and the knowledge and the cooperation that you have, because I'm thinking school now, I'm not just thinking home, that's a concern. Because she doesn't understand that it is inappropriate to bark at the school. She doesn't know. She just knows she's a dog, and dogs get stimulated. So you could always remove the stimulation, but that's like saying, well, she'll never go and say hi to kids when they're playing or something. You know, that's weird. Yeah. So if you can really solidify the ready and the finish, which I believe you have, so allowing her to bark when you're playing, because then everyone's ready.
I don't reckon I do that enough. The ready. I think those 2 windows between the playing, and again, it's because of Alfie. She's got the free play. She's out in that. Yeah. And we're not doing the ready and finish for the play. So I reckon that's one that I actually have to work on.
Luckily, you can definitely instill that at the school.
Yeah.
Because that is very contextual, because Alfie's not at school.
Yeah.
But you're right over here. So we need to put this into school and home. Or school, like therapy dog, and pet.
Yeah.
Because most of the dogs, the puppies that I've raised, they're very vocal when they're young. Like Reaper was a very vocal dog. Ziva was a very vocal dog. It took me a good 6 months to train both my dogs. Yeah. And never had a problem with them after. Yeah. Every dog that's come through me that has been vocal has learned there's an appropriate time, and then when there is a finish or enough, they stop. And if they don't, well, okay, you have made a decision, so here is the consequence. Yeah. And with trial and error, they go, oh, okay, so if I stick my finger in the stove, I'm going to burn when it's on. If I stick my finger in the stove when it's not.
So that's where at school, even though at the moment she's just sleeping on a mat like that, that's where at school it would be good to have a crate to stick her in when she does.
To a degree, but when you put her in the crate, she can still bark in the crate.
Yeah, but if she's away...
Yep, can work, absolutely. So you can try that, right? So you can try that, see how you go. But then what if she does bark in the crate?
Yeah, she will.
So what do? We address that. But how? So again, this is where it comes in with, if you're able to whack the crate, because you want to startle her, and she's like, I don't like being startled. It's like, well, stop calling the ghosts. And she'll go, oh. So the whole idea is like, and this is what I do at night. Literally, I have the crate right in my room so I can reach it.
Yeah. She started barking a little bit in her... Oh, she didn't last night. But she was barking a little bit in her crate. She started barking in the morning to get out.
So this is where a lot of people, they set themselves up with toilet training. They wait for the dog to let them know to go toilet training. And I'm like, why are you doing that? You should be proactive. So she should never let you know. You should just give her an opportunity. Because when they bark later in life, you go, I don't know if they need to.
Well, that's what I'm like in the morning. I haven't been letting her out. She barks, I might get up.
But she can still hear you. This is the thing. She can still hear you. She's like, I've got to.
Yeah. I might get up and have a shower and leave her in there.
But she still succeeded. She's
like getting me out of bed.
She's still like, you woke up, you responded, oh, someone's having a bit of a dream there. So and this is where so many people set themselves up.
Yeah. Okay.
Because they're like, I'll wait for my dog to let me know. How does a dog let you know? Mostly whinging and barking. And I'm like, well, how do you know the moment that the dog barks? I know. And they take him out, and I'll watch the dog, and it never pees. And I go, I thought you said you knew. And they went, well, all you just taught your dog is that barking works. Because then the one day when they're barking and they're like, I need to pee, and you don't let them out, and they mess up their crate, whose fault's that? Yours. So why are you setting yourself up for that? So people coming and going, they let me know there's someone there. Good job. Yeah, that's great. That's all I needed. But now I am aware. You don't need to continue. See, even animals in the wild, they don't continue making noise. If they need to alert, they alert. And when other animals are aware, they shut up. Right? So it's the thing is that barking becomes what we call a self-rewarding behavior. The actual act of barking makes them feel good. Just like you get some people who love talking and say nothing, and everyone's like, can you just be quiet? Just the act of people staying there and tolerating them encourages them to continue talking. So if you leave, so that's why when a dog barks at me, like I did this the other day with another puppy. So he's over there in the pen. Door is out here. We want to open the door to let him out. Every time I went out and he started barking at me, I went back in. And he went, what happened? And in my head, so I'm talking to the clients, the potential clients, and I said, every time he yells at me, I go back in, because that's just rude. That's not necessary. I'm already on my way. So are you going like, hurry up? Well, okay, I'll go slower. In fact, I'm going to go so slow, go backwards. And they go, what? But when I'm playing with her, it's different, because I'm encouraging it. So yes, if the dog is able to do things and get rewarded from a different source, like Alfie, you can't get mad at that.
No.
Yeah.
So I don't, like, when they're playing, I just let them.
Yeah.
I just let them go, but it makes it harder to define the window.
Correct. You're right, because it makes it hard to generalize or make it specific to context. Yeah. Because dogs bark.
And because really, I don't play with her at school.
No. But the kids do.
The kids do, sort
of. So what
happens?
Because
at the moment they're really not, because I'm just
walking
around with her.
Yes.
And they're just coming up to her.
But there's going to be a point where they will. Yeah. Right? And then what if you're saying to the child, don't do that, right? And the child continues stimulating her and she barks. What are you going to do? Because you can't control the stimulus and you can't control the dog's response. So what do? You see where I'm coming from? So you can always manage it. Like, I'm telling you, you can manage forever. If you want. Do I want to do that? Not particularly.
Yeah, so she needs to know it's not a playtime now.
Yeah, and it'll only happen with discipline. And discipline you only either take something good away, but they have to make that connection. So if she understands because you barked, that's where the sorry comes in. But you can only say that if you can enforce it. You go SORYY or your NINE, you take her away completely. You put her in a room that's dark. You put her in a room where no one can get to her unless you tell them to or go. She will be like, oh my soul. I just put myself in social isolation like they do in prison. That's why social isolation can be super, super bad. Right? It really affects them. So that, or you give her an aversive that she goes, that's not fun. We've been doing that. So aside from another thing that some people do is they actually grab the dog's muzzle and hold it. But again, you're going to have, I want you to think she's over there 50 meters away playing with kids or barking at something. Unless you can physically get to her to give her whatever you want to give her, whether that's taps on the head or yell at her or whatever, she can put distance between you and go,
yeah, absolutely. And she would.
Well, that's what my mum did, right? I ran away. I ran away when I was a kid, right? So I run away and I go, you can't catch me. Do you know what my mum said? You have to come back eventually. And I went, oh, crud. Right? So you got to think in context.